right. Dreams 6 or 7, depending on if I've uploaded the short one or not. This was last night's dream. It was very recent, very fresh. I can talk about it a little more without just having to resort to the notes. Very fresh in my memory. Today is April 30th. Alright, I guess let's just hop into it. I don't have anything to say. Starting off the night, my memories are a bit fuzzy. I was in some class with Nick, Robert, and Jose. Nick and Jose were rushing me out of class to hang or something, but I had to stop them so I could go to Robert and get my DMT bag. He seemed to be avoiding giving it back, and I wondered why. He said I was going to be mad, and I remembered that it dissolves in heat, and this classroom was hot and sweaty. I wasn't going to be mad though, because I'm responsible for that mistake. I woke up in bed briefly. I thought to myself that I'd like to make more DMT, but I don't want to smoke it or sell it. I just want a huge jar full of it, sit on a shelf or something. I fell back asleep. I was in my room. Dad opened my door and woke me up, tossing something at me. Devin had come over and I could hear Nico playing around near the piano. My current room swapped into my old room down the hall. My bed kept its orientation in the room, so it was up against the closed closet door. Once done, I came out and Devin expressed surprise. I told her I finished my food and was awake, so I came out. It looked to be early morning, as that's the only time the sun shines in the living room like that. It looked nice. I went to the kitchen where I think I began to clean until I dissociate. I came to as a little meatball thing with knives poking out of it. Kind of like that one kitten squad in me, except it was more apparent that it was meat. I was rolling around in some hellscape type place. I thought I was trying to destroy it. I also thought it was some kind of store, even though there was zero evidence for this to be the case. As I rolled around, I encountered traps and stuff. Eventually, the ball that was me started turning into a brain and was kind of unraveling a bit, but it didn't last long because I died in some odd way. Like in a game when there's some shitty hitbox system. There was like a Indiana Jones ball following me. It had like a shitty hitbox. I died way too early. It didn't touch me. I woke up in a store. It was very huge, like a grocery store, but it had clothes everywhere. Mostly on circle racks spread around, very bright open space. I was laid naked on a cot covered by a white comforter. The brain dream from before was playing somewhere on this pillar behind the side of the cot that I had my head on. It was like this big blue pillar. I didn't see it playing on there, but I just knew it was playing on there. And I also thought, I didn't write this, I don't know why I didn't write this, but I also thought that I made it, like it was an animation or something, or like a game that I made. I sat up and I started putting my clothes on. They were in the bed with me. I started with a single sock. I looked up and saw a woman in front of me. She looked fine, and so I called her, but she didn't seem to hear me. I tossed the sock I had started putting on in front of her, and she walked right over it. All my shame left me, and I stood up naked, exposing myself to the store. I went up behind her and grabbed her wrist. She turned to me, and I grabbed the other. It was my intention to be hot, not rapey. However, when she turned to me, she looked ugly. And to be honest, I don't think like terribly ugly, just like regular ugly. But for some reason, I was very taken aback and extremely turned off. I let go and just kind of studied her for a second. I was about to walk away when she shoots a large volume of liquid snot at me at high speeds. I didn't react at all, I just tanked it. She smiled and I tried to punch her in the face, but it didn't work. My fist phased through hers. My fist phased through her face. Jeez. And it was kind of getting stuck and pushing out at the same time, like a game with a weird hitbox system or something. I backed off and started to leave. She started to follow me and she sprayed me again. She must have actually been like spraying 2 to 3 cups of liquid snot each time. It was like a lot of snot. I turned and elbowed her across the face and she just kind of died. Another her spawned though, and she kept messing with me. I kind of deserved it for being so forthright earlier, but I wasn't going to take this. I elbowed the new one as well, and she died, and another one spawned. Around this time, I believed God to be testing me. I thought I was supposed to love something that I found disgusting. I again elbowed this third one. A fourth one spawned, and this one wasn't just ugly, but like an uncanny VHS horror kind of disturbing. This one I started to choke. It seemed to not need to breathe to shoot snot at me, because it did point blank into my face and on my chest. I broke her neck as I thought of how much I really didn't want to embrace this thing. But a fifth one spawned, and this one again looked like the original woman rather than the creepy uncanny version. So I grabbed her and I kissed her before she shot at me. I closed my eyes and we kind of dematerialized and turned into these energies, and our bodies kind of dysmorphed and became nonsense. I woke up and began to clasp my hands to pray. I looked at my closet and it was closed. I could somewhat see a reflection, although it was very dark. I thought I might have seen a woman in the dark, but wasn't convinced enough to say I was hallucinating. I realized one of the doors were actually open. Weird. And the reflection of the single door, I thought I might have seen a teddy bear in the darkness, but I wasn't too sure, and I still wasn't willing to say I was hallucinating. I realized both my closet doors are open. Where was I looking before, I thought? I was seeing reflections. Now that I had actually woken up, I prayed and thanked God for the dream, even though it was an unpleasant one. All dreams are good dreams. Keep that in mind, y'all. Unless it's like a PTSD nightmare, those aren't good dreams. I was some homeless guy in some mid-eastern village, the ones with like the mud walls. I asked some guy for some advice on where to live, and I decided in this city. I befriended this lemur thing. It was like a lemur monkey thing. It was fluffy and brown. I'll try and find an animal that looks similar to it. I probably won't be able to. It's kind of one of those dream creatures. I think I just waved at it while it was playing football with another animal. Yeah, these two animals were playing football. It's kind of cool. It ran over and I gave it a good pet. It like, I didn't write this, but it like hugged my arm. It was like wrapping its tail around me. It was really cute and warm and fluffy. As I pet it, I had a negative thought. Why befriend this thing when it will surely die anyways? I then thought the same of children, but then snapped out of it. It ran off, and I entered some place, and I saw who I thought to be Nico. He came to me, and I took him away. I went into my house, which on the outside looked very poor, but on the inside looked like a generic hotel room. I was going out, and I took Nico with me, but he was scared. I started to suspect that he was kidnapped. I turned back to go back to my house, which was just a few feet away, and I was looking down this massive dusty alley. Initially, someone holding a knife was there at the end and ran off when spotted. Then there were these cult-like people slowly walking towards me. This alleyway was absolutely massive. There was so much that they were walking slowly, and let me just read more. Half of the wide alley was this water pool with these like black soul things swimming in my direction rapidly. As they reached the edge, they would just swim into the wall and disappear. I wanted to run, but I couldn't physically move. This took me completely out of the experience, making me feel like I wasn't the one in the story anymore. I went third person and watched the guy holding the now unfamiliar child. Eventually, it was like a jump scare went off. The cult guys, still super far away. It didn't even look like they were getting any closer, to be honest. But all at once, they surrounded him, and 12 back-to-back jump scares played every half second. They were the guy screaming, the culty people swarming, and weird blood splashes of like an unnecessary amount of blood. I was watching this thinking it was kind of cool, but not very scary at all. It was a good display of intensity, but not as a jump scare. I was sort of critiquing the dream as if it were a movie at this point. Then the guy is dead. He's in this afterlife where people he knew walk around him and talk about him. Only one had something good to say, while the rest were very indifferent about his death. I remember his ex-wife in particular. She said that she knew he was good, but he was never put in a scenario to use that goodness. And now that he was dead, she didn't even care. She was already picking from the lineups of men at her disposal even before his death anyways. Then this really sad sequence played that I hated. Hated because like, it was so sad, I didn't like it. It was the man and his child. I understood him to be an absent father. There were people in this void dancing and laughing, having what seemed to be a good time. The father walked around until he saw his biological son. The man started dancing, trying to win his son's love, but the son was kind of sussing him out, not budging. Now for the part that I hated. From outside the crowd laid a child reaching out to the man smiling. I knew this kid to be who he was carrying at the time of his death, and although in my time as him, the man, he was Nico, this child's story at this moment was just that he was some homeless child taken in by the father in life. But now the father was ignorant to the death of this child and trying hard to win the love of a stranger, while his true family was dying, unable to do anything, and is still happy for him somehow. There's somewhat of a scene change briefly, both the setting and me. I changed from a disembodied spectator to watching all of this on a screen with my father in the den. The man was now no longer in a void, but rather a dark rubble-ridden, deteriorating parking lot garage. Leaving the crowd, he approached the darkness, passing a dead body that looked like a real-life version of Luffy from One Piece, at least just the clothing. The bloody body was rather ripped, unlike Luffy. As soon as I saw this on screen, I knew this to be how the child died. He lived to adulthood and was brutally murdered in a dark, quiet parking garage. When I saw it, I audibly gasped and I said aloud to my father, "I hate that." The man walked past the body, unaware of its identity. I was back being a ghostly spectator and watched him for a few seconds before I took control of his body completely. However, it wasn't me. I was just acting out my frustrations with the story so far. Some people entered the room. It was me and another man and a woman. We were all armed with sci-fi looking stuff and armor. I didn't think these guys were the guys that killed the man, even though the fresh body should have been somewhat of an indicator, but rather I believed them to just be grave desecrators. I thought they erased some tag of the man's, like a graffiti picture that marks a fallen soul's resting spot. I saw like a video of them washing it off. It was like a gorilla, I think. Anyways, I pretended to be the guy they thought I was as we chatted. We walked to the end of this rubble place, the parking garage, and there was this entrance to a sci-fi looking hallway with a catwalk. Alright, I kind of wrote this weird, so I'm just gonna go off script for a sec. There's this table just full of weapons on the side of the parking garage, and on the other side of the wall is like a window and a doorway wall. there was this futuristic sci-fi looking massive little hallway. It was like, it's not like a hallway, like it's like a hallway where you can like drive vehicles through. As we walked into the sci-fi hallway looking thing, I stabbed the woman straight through the neck with this tool that looked like a cake knife with yellow and black danger lines on the tip. The two guys, after stabbing her, just completely ignored it. The woman acted normally as if she wasn't just stabbed in the neck, and the man didn't even acknowledge it. So I go back into the rubble place and I grab another one. But as I did, that was where they drew the line, grabbing another one. They became hostile and started shooting at me. I grabbed this weird sci-fi harpoon gun that was like pump action. I shot one of the two and they died. I shoot at the other and miss. I went back again and grabbed another gun. This felt very VR-like and had a laser. The guy, who is now moving very video game-like, ran off the edge of the catwalk and just kind of ragdolled. I lit him up as he fell, which was probably unnecessary. I mean, it was a pretty big drop. His head lit red as I shot it like a damage indicator. I then turned the corner, looking a little bit down the hallway, and there's some generic-looking police guys similar to the cops from Infamous, except less black and more white. I slowly blacked out as we fought. And then below, I have a little extra bit, but I'm gonna have to touch on this a little bit more after reading it. At some point, I remember this weird bit where I was playing like kickball with Jose and Nick, but I was the ball and they kicked me into the air where I wandered into the meatball level. However, this doesn't make sense on the timeline because I distinctly remember waking up right after the dream with Robert, which I thought was the first dream of the night. Also, I know that the Nico dream, where I was just home in my old room, was before the meatball dream, so my timeline's a little messed up and I don't know where. All right, that's that. Dreams of the April 29th-30th. The dream's name was Snot Girl. All right, that's that. You know I said that.